It was Jose Rizal who said the youth is the hope of our future. And of course, we know other variations are the saying. We can guess easily that he was saying that if our children are not molded with love, directed on the path that is right, and guided with hands of hope, then our future is pretty much hopeless. It's Child Month, and the youth struggling with issues are not exempt from attention. As a matter of fact, today's show is dedicated to them. Hi there, I'm Adrian Atkinson, your guide on this informative excursion. Do stay with us.
Child diversion in the Ministry of Justice is just our way of diverting children who are considered to be troubled, wayward, or children who just come into contact with the justice system. There are a few misconceptions about the program. One is that it's only bad children or children who always misbehave that come to the child diversion program. The program is here for children who make mistakes, as they will do because they are children. The other misconception is that once they are referred to the program, we are going to take the children away. That is not the plan of the program. In the best interest of the child, we try to ensure that they are around their family or the guardian that can support them to be rehabilitated. So they come to the program and they stay at home. As a matter of fact, most of them that come to the program don't end up at a facility for children. They stay at home and they complete the program there and they continue with school and everything that they would do. If you know of children who have come into conflict with the law, one way or the other, consider child diversion as an option.
Drug addiction is one of those issues that can be difficult to talk about, especially for the person battling the addiction. It is also not easy to watch a loved one battle substance abuse. Helping can often become conflicting, combative even, and before you know it, loss, that is, of life or even support. The National Council on Drug Abuse is here to tell us about the early warning system on drug use. Let's join in to get the facts.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. For the next few minutes, we're discussing a new system designed to stem the rise in psychotropic substances that pose a significant threat to Jamaica's public health. Here to tell us more about Jamaica's early warning system, EWS, on drug use is Mrs. Uki Atkinson, research analyst with the National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA. Welcome to the program, Mrs. Atkinson.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's jump right into getting the facts. An early warning system on drug abuse. What's that about?
So really what an early warning system is, it is a network of interagency professionals designed to bring them together to rapidly exchange information on public health threats relating to drugs.
Okay.
So we have, as you know, we launched this system on February 2nd, 2024, and Jamaica is very proud of the fact that we were able to launch the system.
Right.
Because what it is that these key actors in the field of drug control are now able to exchange very important information, develop strategies based on the level of risk that entails from some of these new substances that are in our midst.
Right.
And some of these new substances can create significant challenges for both public health and public security. And so our network right now entails, we meet on a regular basis, we exchange information from the law enforcement sectors. So we have various actors from various departments, from the Jamaica Constabulary Force, we have narcotics division, we have customs on board, we have the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine,
Right.
because it is very important for us to chemically analyze some of these new psychoactive substances. And I'll talk a little bit more about these NPS.
Okay, so there's broad scale collaboration.
Broad scale. We have emergency medicine professionals, we have mental health professionals, the NCDA network, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, civil society. It is broad.
It is broad, but all of these that you've mentioned so far sound local. I understand that there are international partnerships involved as well. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yes, so internationally, the whole reason for early warning systems across countries stem from the emergence of what are called new psychoactive substances, NPS.
Right.
These are substances which are chemically put together basically clandestinely, meaning they're illegal, they're done in secret, they're not controlled by international conventions.
And if I can interject here, they're not necessarily put together in Jamaica.
Well, we hope not. But from information, I mean, what is happening regionally is that, I mean, as close as Trinidad and Tobago, they discovered a methamphetamine lab. So we are not immune. Absolutely. So the international partners include the Organization of American States. They have the Inter-American Drug Abuse Control Commission. There is a cooperation program between the EU, Latin America, and the Caribbean called COPALAD. There is the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. There's EMCDDA, the European Monitoring Center on Drugs and Drug Abuse, Drug Addiction. So what these agencies have done is to help to build our capacity locally and in the region to develop these systems. They've helped us with technical assistance. They have built our capacity to learn about different ways of collecting and generating and assessing these drugs that are emerging. So, you know, it's not just that we're waiting every 5 years to do a survey, a national survey, to find out what the problems are among our people.
Right.
We are now able to rapidly respond to a threat. And a threat may pose in different ways. Somebody may end up at an emergency room in a hospital with a drug overdose.
Right.
Right? I mean, based on what is happening very close to us in North America, there were over 70,000 related overdose deaths due to opioids like fentanyl in 2021, and this is happening rapidly. And we do know that these are passing through our shores because the Caribbean is a transshipment point.
Right.
There are also seizures that may take place with substances that need to be chemically analyzed. So the early warning system is not a long, you don't wait long to be able to determine what is happening. You rapidly exchange the information, assess what the risk is, and then determine, do we need to issue a national level alert, or do we need to let medical professionals or law enforcement professionals or other islands be aware of what is happening so that we can address the threat adequately.
And tell me if I'm getting this right. This already plays and benefits from the NCDA's level of partnership on the field already, so you don't need to go and find somebody to chemically analyze.
No, we are already doing it. Yes, we're absolutely doing it, and we have the system up and running. The only loophole would be that it is not a legislative framework that has us operating. In other words, in Europe and in other countries, there are legal mandates that operate for the early warning systems to be sustained.
Gotcha.
Right now, we are relying on the goodwill and the significant interest of our partners to be able to continue the system.
We'll talk some more about that, but I'm very curious how the EWS will impact interventions, especially when it comes to mental health issues resulting from drug abuse. Is there any correlation?
Well, let's just put it this way. Mental health and drug use are inextricably linked. You know, you're not just sure which one comes first, the chicken or the egg. There are people who have mental health issues, who use drugs to self-medicate. There are people who have drug use disorders, who because of their drug use disorders, they've developed mental health disorder. More broadly, the early warning system will help to flag issues that are arising among mental health patients. So we may see where mental health patients in a particular region or parish or community are starting to use some of these new substances or using things in different ways. I can give you an example. Just recently, this week, we did a focus group discussion among some high-risk youth, about 18 of them, and they were able to tell us of people who they see injecting drugs in their community.
Wow.
Now, this is a serious development for which the early warning system can rapidly respond, because what is it that these people are injecting?
Right.
Typically, Jamaicans are not injection drug users, but the landscape of drug use is changing. And we need to be critically aware of that and respond to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to touch on that point about young people, but that's right after our break. Please stay with us. We are going to a quick break, and when we get back, Mrs. Atkinson will tell us some more about the negative impacts of use and misuse of psychoactive substances, the EWS, and why persons should avoid those psychoactive substances that the EWS was deployed to manage. Stay with us.
Are you aware of how Jamaican adolescents use social media? What do they do online? What do they post? Do you know if they are being harassed? These are questions you should be asking yourself, because it is your duty to keep your children safe online. Parents, here's what you need to do. Be active online and offline. Help your child to set up his or her online profile. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the different social media applications that they use and set some rules. Protect our nation's children and save them from cybercriminal attacks.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We're continuing our conversation with Mrs. Uke Atkinson, research analyst with the National Council on Drug Abuse. Now, we're discussing Jamaica's early warning system, EWS, on drug use. Lady Atkinson, now, before the break, we had covered some partners, both local and international. Now, I understand that there is a collaboration with 15 organizations, I figure you've named some of them, to curtail drug use and illicit trafficking in Jamaica. We want to know a little bit more about the structure, like how that partnership works, and also, if I can tack on to it, how does that help with the preventative management of substance abuse among young people?
Yes. So the system itself is still being developed as we speak.
Okay.
We launched in February.
Right.
And as we proceed, there is an identification of key stakeholders that need to join. So right now we have law enforcement, we have customs, we have, the medical health professionals and so on. There is need for other members to join. It is being centrally coordinated by the National Council on Drug Abuse under the Ministry of Health and Wellness. But it's not a solely health-related initiative. In other words, there is equal playing ground in terms of the importance of public health as well as public security. In terms of how the system will help to prevent, so remember now, these focal points that sit on the early warning system represent a broader network of professionals who are in the business of drug control. And so from the EWS standpoint, they will increase the awareness of their networks on why it is important and what it is we can do when these substances are found in our midst. If you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So when you talk about the maritime division of the JCF, or you talk about forensics and their network, or you talk about Ministry of Education and their network, each focal point is going to expand awareness about what it is we're trying to do. We're trying to detect threats, we're trying to detect events, and then rapidly respond to them. And so the more people who are aware of the early warning system and what it is we're trying to accomplish, which is to protect public health and public security because of these new psychoactive substances, which are here. We know they're here. We knew from 2022 that the emergence of MDMA, Molly, ecstasy, has become something that our young people are, pill popping is now become a
Right, it's
fad.
part of the culture.
In that same focus group, there were young people who were telling us about their own experiences with Molly and the fact that Molly are on the road, you know, and this is not confined to a particular set of socioeconomic groups or otherwise. It is across the board. And we're talking about from Morant Point to Negril Point.
Wow.
And so there is need for us to even go beyond this network to be able to strengthen our national legislative framework so that the adequate measures can be put in place so that law enforcement, medical professionals can adequately respond, because they are also at risk as first responders for some of these drugs.
I see that.
Right?
I can see that. So, well, let's keep talking about at the national level. Now, when people hear drugs, we can immediately think of the social impacts, you know, the friendships, families, it damages that. We can think about the values. We can think about public health. You mentioned overdosing.
Yes.
What's the economic impact of these psychoactive substances?
Right. So there is an impact on multiple layers. When we talk about psychoactive substances, people think of ganja, cocaine, rum. There are a whole host of other things, which I've been saying. You know, the NPS, we have to keep emphasizing. Even though the magnitude is not as great, the impact of small amounts of these substances can be significant.
Right.
And so, yes, there is an impact to us economically. What it will cost to treat any kind of events relating to the use of these substances can be significant on our public health system. It can crash the public health system, as it has in some other countries.
Right.
So the economic cost of drugs to Jamaica has been studied as far back as 2010, and it's billions of dollars at that time. Right now, we anticipate that it would be way more. We don't know the exact amount, but it is more. We know that the problematic use of alcohol and tobacco in particular are two of the main risk factors towards non-communicable diseases. And so when you think about your cancers and your heart disease and your hypertension and your diabetes, use of substances impacts that. So it's impacting on health costs as well. When you look at things like road fatalities and injuries, right? Those things are being impacted because we are certain.
So behavioral impacts.
Behavioral impacts. We are certain that a lot of the mayhem that we're seeing on the roads now are as a result of people driving under the influence of whether it be alcohol or cannabis or other substances that we are not sure because we're not really testing to determine.
Right.
There is an impact on productivity.
Yes.
When you look at the age group of the burden of prevalence in terms of problematic alcohol use, problematic cannabis use, you're looking at the 20s, early adulthood, 20s to 30s. And this is from our 2016 National Drug Prevalence Survey.
Okay.
Those are our most productive years. And so people who are dependent on substances, who are problematic users, have low productivity. There is a lot of absenteeism.
Right, yes.
And, you know, it impacts their output.
But tell me something. How does the NCA help or do it to ensure that there are proper facilities, treatment facilities, recovery facilities? Does the NCDA do anything in that regard?
So the NCDA is the agency responsible for what you call demand reduction. That's things like public education, research, prevention, treatment initiatives. There are residential and outpatient treatment facilities here in Jamaica that can help people who are struggling with problematic drug use, with drug use disorders.
Right.
And so we do have those entities. There is always a need for more.
It's a part of the network.
Precisely. There's always a need for more. And also for a need for it to be less concentrated in urban areas. So rural folks need them too, you know, rather than having to travel all the way to Kingston or to Montego Bay or otherwise.
Because drugs don't live at town.
Yes. But we do have an officer in each parish that provides both counseling services and prevention services for substances.
Right. Is there a space that we can look for the NCD and, you know, see the messages, the education, like online, offline?
Absolutely. So at Drug Free JA, which is about to change because we are revamping our whole public education thrust and our social media pages and so on. And as you know, we are about to be integrated into the Ministry of Health and Wellness in a few months. Yeah. And so with that will come a sort of change in terms of some of our platforms.
Okay. Budget increase for
well, that is what we're anticipating. We're anticipating and hoping for that.
We certainly hope so.
And we're also expanding our mandate to not only focus on drug use, but also to focus on mental wellness. So where we go out and provide, you know, prevention and national public education on drug use, we're also going to be providing and expanding that to look at mental wellness so that we can lessen some of the, you know, the discrimination and the you know, they spook around people who have mental health disorders. Nobody wants to go and ask for help and so forth. We'll be trying to address that as well as an agency.
And you've been teaching this. I think I'm seeing a little link here. Addressing that also helps with your mandate as a demand reduction agency.
Absolutely.
For drugs.
It is linked. It is linked. So in the wisdom of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, they have expanded the mandate, the upcoming mandate of the new agency.
Totally understood,
yes.
Totally understood. So many of our viewers are watching, and I don't know, I can't speak for them, but it's the Jamaican society that's online, it's watching this program. What would your final word to them be?
My word to them would be, these are critical times, these are changing times. Do not take things for granted. When you see people around, your family members, your community members, neighbors, using these new substances that are around, it's not anything for you to play with. Stay far from them because a lot of them are mixed with very, very serious substances that can impact your health. And if you need help, call the NCDA 876-564-4357.
Thank you. Your health is your wealth. Your community is also yours. So, as she has encouraged, call, reach out, get educated, get the facts. So, take care of your health. Don't do drugs unless prescribed by your doctor to treat a condition, of course. And even then, don't abuse those drugs either. Keep a vigilant eye out on yourself and those around you. This has been Get the Facts. So our guest has been Mrs. Uki Atkinson, research analyst with the National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA. Thank you for watching. And until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.
Time to slow down. Cut the speed, let it up and go. The road cold and up, play. Use the light in a night or day. Speed kills when you're in a hurry. Hit the child and then they cry sorry. But if you decode the speed, your body life wouldn't bleed. While stop beg and bleed. Just cut the speed, cut the speed.
Motorists, please look out for us when we're crossing the road.
Second chances. Who are we without them, and where would we be if never given another opportunity? That is what the Ministry of Justice is giving to young people who find themselves on the wrong side of the law. A second chance. Watch now to learn more about their child diversion program.
Scenario 1. A child is caught desecrating a building. To him or her, it is fun. After all, they are not hurting anyone. Scenario 2. Teenage boy meets girl. They fall in love. They decide to do the do. These scenarios seem somewhat innocent until... In scenario 1, that child is charged with vandalism because the building is the property of someone and it will cost them a lot of money to undo the damage done by said child. In scenario 2, the boy is arrested. As it happens, he is 17 years old and the girl, well, she is 15 years old. What they may not understand is that although they are both teenagers, it is unlawful to have sexual intercourse with a person under the age of 16. So now these young people will be jailed. But do they have to be?
Child diversion in the Ministry of Justice is just our way of diverting children who are considered to be troubled, wayward, or children who just come into contact with the justice system, because not every child that comes into contact with the system is a troubled child. So we offer them rehabilitation and an opportunity to get a second chance.
So how do we get to this stage? Consider the scenarios earlier. Those children are now in the custody of the court. In a traditional judicial system, when found guilty, these persons would find themselves behind bars. However, the Ministry of Justice has reconsidered the fate of such individuals and is offering a better solution. But first, the individuals must accept responsibility. Then, they and their victims, along with the court, must agree to the terms of treatment, that is, child diversion. So, if your child is between the ages of 12 and 17, they are eligible. The program, which began in 2020, is guided by the Child Diversion Act, which was passed in 2018, and is supported by other acts such as the Child Care and Protection Act, which speaks to the best interests of children. Some offenses under Schedule 1 of the Child Diversion Act are simple larceny, malicious destruction of property, and having sexual intercourse with a person under 16. However, judges have autonomy to send cases or offenses to the Child Diversion Program at their discretion. Yes, there is hope for our young people who find themselves on the wrong side of the law. But what does that second chance look like?
It will look different for every child. So what happens once they're referred to us, we have offices across the island, so we have 14 offices. They're sent to one of our offices in the parishes, and the child diversion officer in the parish will do an intake assessment, and we ask the child a lot of questions. We also ask the parents questions to get an understanding of what this child is all about and what home life is like, what school is like, and so on. Once we're able to do that, we then craft what we call a treatment program for that child, an individualized program for the child.
After a treatment plan is drafted, it will need the approval of the Child Diversion Committee. Once approval is given, treatment will commence.
A child might be referred to the program for simple larceny, but when they come to us, we realize that they're using drugs, their educational level is not where it should be. The intervention that is provided will be geared towards not only the simple larceny, but also the other interventions that that child might need. So we might have to refer them to, let's say, the National Council on Drug Abuse, so they might be able to get drug abuse treatment and counseling.
And what about that boy in scenario 2? What hope is there for him?
These children come to us. They might be A students in school. They might be actively participating in sports, other activities, but they're, for whatever reason, they decided to try and they were caught having sexual intercourse. They're referred to us. For a child like that, that comes to the child diversion program, the aim of the program is not to punish them, but it's to ensure that they get the adequate information about the actions that they're taking, how it can affect them, how it can affect others. So it's not a case where, oh, because they're caught committing this offense, that their life should be over. So child diversion basically provides them an opportunity to, you know, when you were in basic school and you had that eraser, or primary school, to just erase that mistake and rewrite it in a more positive way. I just want parents or guardians to know that child diversion, the program itself, is here to help our young people develop. And it's here to help them develop in a positive way. So don't consider it punishment, or even if it is, it's not one that is so final that this child cannot go into adulthood without leaving that simple mistake that they made as a child behind.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. And of course, I believe you know the rest. If not, let those lines remind us of how precious our children are and how important our role is in their lives. We've come to the end of today's show. To catch a repeat of this or any other, feel free to log on to our website, jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.